host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the concept of unfinished karma and how can we see that in our charts. So now friends, I will be very honest with you. Definitely, if you follow all these Vedic astrology videos, so then you must be a spiritual seeker, spiritual believer, and you must have a strong faith in the concept of karma. So now friends, just because I will be very honest with you, just because it is Saturday today at the time when I am uploading this video, so Saturn is in a retrograde motion, it is conjunct with the transiting moon as well. I keep a fast on Saturdays as well, going through Saturn Dasha and Saturn Sadhisati, so that comes very handy. So I was initially thinking about making a video on Saturn. Then from Saturn, I talked myself into making a video on karma. Then from there, I thought that I have not covered the two divisional charts like D12 and D60, which primarily talks about the moksha and the past lifetime. So then I thought that rather than just straight away uploading a video on the past life, in this video, why not we have our discussion first on the kind of sensitive alignments which kind of make the scale of fate and free will little bit lopsided. Like it gives additional weight towards the pre-fated events in our life. Because friends, whenever we talk about certain dreaded yogas in Vedic astrology, whether you talk about the a birth in the Gandanta nakshatra or having a Kal Sarp dosha in your chart, so why we are scared of them? Because in a way, these are the kind of yogas which give additional power to the nodes which in astrology represents the surprise elements, and they also represents those kind of unfinished karma or those sort of events which we cannot evade. See, being an astrologer, you can look at a chart from three perspectives. While looking at a chart, you can fairly see that this is a certain portion of predestined events which cannot be avoided, where fate is going to have a strong say. Then there comes a second portion or second attribute where you can look at a chart that definitely person or native can exercise his free will and can evade the portion of the misfortune which is being mentioned or which is being encrypted in the chart, or native via using his free will, he can improve the predestined good events which is being encrypted in his chart. So one is where your destiny is having a major say. Second aspect is where your free will can actually influence the matters, and the third aspect is where even an astrologer cannot say that confidently that which aspect is going to dominate. So now friends, in this video I will try to blend everything, that how can we see via looking at certain alignments that destiny is definitely going to have a strong say in your life. Now friends, when I say this thing, trust me, it can have a double or dual effect attached to it. Now who says this thing that if nodes are going to have a strong say in your chart, so that means they are going to do only bad to you, like they are going to be responsible for all sort of unforeseen negative events, unexplainable miseries or troubles or traumas. Trust me, there has been a proper research which has been done that all those people who have had some memories of their past lifetime, or all those people who have demonstrated some prodigious talents without having a proper training, so even in their case, these kind of certain karmic alignments have been found in their chart in the form of like Rahu and Ketu gaining strength. And there are certain alignments as well which I will try to explain in this video. So definitely friends, now we will start our discussion. So just see this video just as a pre-introduction to the D12 chart and D60 chart, which we will have our discussion afterwards. Because when specifically talking about D60 chart, that becomes a little bit complicated, because over there your birth time has to be accurate. If there is going to be even a 1 minute of difference in your birth time, trust me, all the calculation in the D60 chart is going to go haywire. So via this video, I will just try to explain you certain alignments which gives rise to, or which is going to make the scale of fate and free will little bit lopsided, or is going to give more weight towards the fate in your chart. So now friends, to begin with, now first thing is that, as we all know this thing, that whenever we talk about anything to do with the past life, so for that we have to give attention towards the fifth house. So in our Lagan chart, ascendant chart, fifth house, apart from giving information regarding your medha, your intellect, your progeny, children, spiritual austerities, interest in bhakti, your Isht Devta, but this is also the house of your past life connection. So now friends, out of all the 9 planets, including Rahu and Ketu as well, so it's the Ketu only which is the significator of who has got all these knowledge of past lifetimes. Now friends, why we say this thing, that whenever Ketu time period begins, our priorities changes, people goes through extreme transformation in their life. And moreover friends, you have to understand this thing, that when we talk about the way other planet operates, or even Saturn operates, so whatsoever Saturn wants to bring in your life, it starts manifesting that in a very slow gradual way. But the concern with Ketu is that Ketu keep on hiding things within it, like the way, for example, there is some allergic reaction or some detrimental effects which are taking place within your body. So you are not gonna get any symptoms, any sign, and suddenly you are going to get the breakdown. So this is how the energies of Ketu function or manifest. So now friends, out of all the 6 to 7 pointer list which I have compiled for this discussion, so the first point is that if you will find that in your fifth house, the planets are placed in the nakshatra of Ketu. So like, let's say for example, you could have Aries sign falling in your fifth house, or Leo sign falling in your fifth house, or even the Sagittarius sign falling in your fifth house, because Ketu nakshatras are Ashwini, Magha, Mula, and they come in these fire signs only. So if any of your planet is placed in the fifth house, now that hardly matters if that planet is moon, that planet is your ascendant lord, that planet is your 10th house lord, but if that planet is placed in the fifth house, that too in the nakshatra of Ketu, so that could be one validation that somehow some sort of influence of the past life can get exerted. Now friends, whatsoever I'm saying over here, you have to see the overall alignment and the direction of the chart. Here I'm just talking about individual points which could give you, or which can land you at that conclusion. So this is the first point friends. Now second point is that, let's say for example, if we will find that Ketu is conjunct with moon in your natal chart, and it is placed in either the trine houses or the moksha houses. So the moksha houses in our natal chart are the 4th house, 8th house and the 12th house. So moon being conjunct with Ketu in these said houses, and also including the trine houses like 5th house and 9th house, can be seen as a very esoteric combination. Now friends, because all of our life we experience through our natal moon only. It hardly matters in which dignity your Jupiter is placed in the chart, Saturn is placed in the chart, how strengthened your ascendant lord is. But if you will find your moon is going to be in a afflicted state, you might not be able to experience life to its full potential. So friends, and specifically over here is that friends, like when we talk about the moksha houses, so generally what has been seen that if you will find that moon to be placed in the 4th house conjunct with Ketu, so these are the kind of specific talents which manifest majorly from the maternal side. So some sort of talents which you have acquired, or chiefly predominating maternal qualities, traits acquired from the maternal side, generally get manifested in the personality, in the behavior of the native. Now friends, let's say for example, if it is placed in the 5th house, and you will find that in this conjunction, because Ketu gains more power when it is going to be placed in the zodiac signs of the Jupiter. So this can be seen as a very good sign that somehow your subconsciousness holds this potential and power that you can demonstrate some sort of talents, or you might have to go through in a very stronger way the karmas of the past lifetime. So here we are talking about karma is something which either you have to suffer or you have to enjoy. So this alignment in the 5th house can also give rise to that as well, which can be in a very beautiful way spent via doing bhakti or devotion towards your Isht Devta. Now friends, in many times it has been seen that if you will find Moon and Ketu to be conjunct in the 8th house. Now I do not know the reason for this, but many astrologers have also mentioned this thing, that this can also give rise to being engaged in a profession regarding which you have some past life ties. Like, just because if you will see the 8th house is the 11th house from the 10th house. So if 10th house is our house of profession, of our actions, so the gain of your profession is the 8th house. So when you find this kind of psychic alignment, an overall chart is also indicating in that direction only. Like, let's say for example, if Moon is conjunct with Ketu, and Moon in your case is your 10th house lord as well, like you being a Libra rising person, or let's say for example Moon is conjunct with Ketu and you are a Cancer rising person, and that too in the 8th house, Moon and Ketu are conjunct in the Sadbhisha nakshatra. So this is going to be 100% validation that somehow your occupation and your undertakings of this lifetime is something which you have been doing in the past life as well. Now friends, when we talk about Moon and Ketu to be conjunct in your 9th house, so this can be seen as a very good sign, like because generally Ketu feels itself at home whenever it is placed in the 9th house or the 12th house. So this can be seen as a very good sign that somehow blessings of the divine or the universal intelligence is definitely going to be guiding you, and this can be seen as a very good sign that somehow you are not gonna suffer on the account of the past lifetime. This can be seen as a very good indication that good deeds or the gifts or the blessing or the enjoyable aspect of the past life good deeds is going to get experienced in this lifetime. Now friends, lastly, if you will find Moon and Ketu to be conjunct in the 12th house, so this in itself is a very strong connection. Now over here friends, it becomes very important that in which dignity Moon is placed in the 12th house, or if Moon is not placed in its own sign or sign of exaltation, in which dignity the Lord of the 12th house is placed in the chart, because it can give you highly strong nature or manifesting some unusual traits, qualities which might not be able to comprehend with a rational mind. So now friends, this was one of the attribute which can gives us this indication that some sort of past life unfinished karma can get experienced in this lifetime. Now friends, the third point which I made is that, which I already explained at the beginning of this video as well, that if you will find birth in the Gandamul nakshatra and Moon conjunct with either of the nodes in the Kal Sarp dosha, that in itself is this alignment or this indication that some sort of past life actions and the result of that past life actions will be strongly visible, experienced in the life. Now again, this can be experienced in the form of gifts, in a form of blessings as well, and this can be experienced in the form of mishaps, struggles, some sort of disability which you might have to experience in this lifetime. Now friends, that is the only reason that if a child is born with his moon in the Gandamul nakshatra of Ketu or like Mercury, then we say that within the initial few days of the birth you have to get the puja done, a proper ritual to get the planet specified. Now friends, why I said this thing for the Kal Sarp dosha? Now there is a strong debate which always goes on the existence of the Kal Sarp dosha, because many astrologers say this thing, that there has been no mention of Kal Sarp dosha in any of the classical books of astrology. Now the way I look at the Kal Sarp dosha is that even in my own natal chart friends, I have the Kal Sarp dosha. So it's just like that, the whole chart in our life represents all experiences of the life. Now if you will find that Rahu and Ketu are gaining strength and all the planets are placed in one axis, so it somehow makes the energies of the chart little bit disbalanced or one pointed concentrated in a direction. Now second thing is that if you are going to find the Kal Sarp dosha, in which circumstances and scenario Kal Sarp dosha gets more powered. Like in my case, if I were to say I have all the planets in the axis of Rahu and Ketu. Now the case over here is that Rahu is sitting in the nakshatra of Ketu, Ketu is sitting in the nakshatra of Rahu, and Moon is placed in the nakshatra of Rahu. So I can actually present my chart as the strongest example of the past life or the some sort of unfinished karma which is getting manifested in this lifetime. So definitely friends, for the Kal Sarp dosha to be getting very strongly exerted in your life, that can only happen if you have a Kalsap dosha in your chart, and over and above that, luminaries in your chart, and specifically moon is conjunct with either of the Rahu or Ketu. So I will repeat, you have all the planets in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, and moon is either conjunct with Ketu or conjunct with Rahu, then we can say that definitely the notion of pre-fated events is going to be strong in the life of the native. So rather than fighting your destiny, your life circumstances, surrender to it. So now friends, next point is about the Mahadasha, Antardasha at birth. So now friends, this becomes very important. See, you have to understand this thing, that the whole concept of our Sanatan Dharma, of the karma, is that there is some sort of, we all are born just because there has been some karma which need to be spent, or you can say that there were some kind of unfulfilled wishes and desires which became the reason of our birth in this lifetime. That is the only reason that your soul did not attain moksha and you were reborn again. So now friends, over here, like, there has been a kind of a debate in the community of astrology, because definitely in whichsoever moon nakshatra you are born, that becomes very important. And as per the Vimshotri Dasha calculation, so your first Dasha is always of the planet in which your moon was placed, in which nakshatra your moon was placed. Now, many people say this thing, that our moon nakshatra lord is something that we died in that planetary dasha only, and we started our next life. That is the only reason that we started our next life in the balance of that Mahadasha. So now friends, I would definitely appreciate your participation, your views on this notion, on this dictum. But one thing which I want to say over here is that more than your moon nakshatra lord, so definitely moon nakshatra lord is going to be the planet with whose dasha you will start. That is going to be a first Mahadasha of the life. But over there friends, many times we forget to include the Antardasha as well, because definitely your moon nakshatra is very important. If you will go in the southern part of India, so if you have to get any ritual done, any puja done, any sort of religious ceremony done, the priest is not gonna ask you your ascendant or your moon sign. They are just gonna ask you what is your Janam Nakshatra, what is your Moon Nakshatra. So Moon Nakshatra becomes very important because the gods or the deities which are connected with that Nakshatra Lord, you have to propitiate them. All of your talents, all of your, like if you actually want to kind of, get rid of obstacles in the path of any of your endeavors, so you have to seek blessing from your nakshatra devata only. So now friends, over here definitely your moon nakshatra becomes important, but the time when you were born, so like for example a dasha runs for a longer span of time. So now friends, as you know this thing, that the planets have been allotted different time periods in the Vimshotri Dasha system. So like for example, if Venus has been allotted 20 years of the Vimshotri Dasha period, so basis in whichever degree your natal moon was transiting within that nakshatra, you will start your Dasha. But within this 20 years, because for every Mahadasha there is a sub-lord or Antardasha which is also taking place simultaneously. So from which Antardasha you will start your this life. So now many astrologers also say this thing, that apart from giving attention to your Mahadasha Lord, you have to also look at your Antardasha Lord as well, because that is going to tell you about that in which kind of a situation or scenario your past life ended, and with which kind of circumstances and alignment you will start this dasha. So now let's say for example, if you're at the time of your birth, your moon was transiting the nakshatra of Ketu like Ashwini, Magha, Mula, making your janam or birth take place in the Gandanta zone. Or let's take up the case of Saturn nakshatra like Pushya, Anuradha or Uttar Bhadrapada, or even the Rahu nakshatra Adra, Swati, Sadbisha. So we have to take into consideration that at your birth, if you are going to have whatsoever planetary Mahadasha, and apart from that the Antardasha with which you will start your life, so in which condition, in which house Antardasha Lord is placed. So if you will find that your Antardasha Lord is placed in the Moksha Bhava or the 5th house, like for example 4th house, 5th house, 8th house, 12th house, so that also tells about that you were or you have taken birth in some sort of circumstances or alignment that the past or the karma, unfinished karma from the past is still going to be chasing you in this lifetime as well. So over here friends, I want to know your suggestions, your input on this. But definitely once we will start our discussion on the D12 chart and the D60 chart, over there I will try to cover that. So that is one more point. Now next is friends, that the birth time hora. So that becomes also very important. Now over here I want to make this thing very clear that friends, many times I see people that whenever they have to take out any muhurta, so like for example, what generally people do is that if you have to join a new office, or you have to take an oath, which in my case I have to take very soon because my Canadian citizenship almost got cleared. So yeah, so the point which I'm trying to say over here is that sometimes what happens is that people just give attention to the hora. So the concept of the hora is very simple, that in a whole day we have the planetary dominated time period which is being equally distributed amongst the 7 planets. So here we do not include Rahu and Ketu, so just the 7 planets, and we are going to have the hora of the 7 planets, which is going to get rotated like in a 12 times. So 12 times we are going to have a hora in the daytime, and the same 12 horas are going to be predominated in the night time, which is going to be the time period of these 7 planets only, excluding Rahu and Ketu. The calculation of that is also very simple. Like for example, on Sunday, right from the time of the sunrise, the first hora is going to be of the sun. Then it follows a specific order, like after the sun hora, it's going to be the hora of the Venus. After Venus, it is going to be the hora of Mercury. After Mercury, it is going to be the hora of the moon. So this is the fixed pattern which gets followed. Like on Tuesday, it will first start with the hora of the Mars from the sunrise time. So now friends, these days it can be easily determined from the softwares that what was the hora in which you were born. So now friends, the confusion which I was trying to explain first, I will make that clear. So when we talk about any sort of muhurta, so what I personally feel is that you have to still give attention towards the nakshatra which is predominated at that time. Sometimes what people do is that definitely sun is very good for anything to do with the government. Venus hora is very good for anything to do with the artistic, creative, love, romantic pursuit. Mercury could be for travel, Jupiter for anything to do with the religious or spiritual austerity. But friends, when we talk about doing any specific task on that specific hora of that planet, that just gives you a conducive or favorable environment. But when we talk about if you actually want the divine omens to support you, so giving attention towards the moon nakshatra becomes more important. Like that is the only reason friends that we say that you have to give attention towards the characteristics of the nakshatra. Like there are certain nakshatras which are dhruva, which are fixed in nature, where we include all the uttara nakshatra like uttarashadha or uttara falguni, which are considered very good for the fixed nature of activity. So I would say friends, and the point which I am trying to make over here is that if you will find that in whichsoever birth time hora you were born, at the time of your birth, whatsoever was the hora predominated at that time, so in which house that hora lord is placed. So if you will find that your hora lord, you are born in whatsoever time of the day, but that time it was the hora of Saturn, and Saturn in your chart is placed in the 8th house or in the 12th house or in the 5th house, then this can give us this indication that you are born at the time when energies and the environment was little bit karmic in nature. So that can be one more indication. And friends, lastly, like definitely the point which I just wrote over here as well, that D60 chart, which is the Shashtyamsha chart, and the D12 chart. So these are the two charts which can give you this indication regarding the nature of the deeds which you have conducted in the past lifetime, and is it so strongly karmic in nature which is going to trap you in this lifetime, making the whole scale of fate and free will little bit lopsided. And lastly friends, like even if I were to include like numerology aspect as well, so definitely you all must be knowing this thing that there are certain like master numbers like 11 and 22 which in a way tells about some sort of spiritual illumination. So same way friends, like a birth taken place on 13th of the month, 14th of the month, 16th of the month and 19th of the month is also considered as little bit karmic in nature as well, which can also demonstrate some sort of unfinished karma in the form of unexplained answers, some sort of crisis, trauma or gifts or blessings, or some sort of unusual and very good exceptional talents in the personality of the native. So definitely friends, like I do not want to now include palmistry as well, because then it is going to get more complicated. But via this video I just wanted to give you little bit sort of a foundation that once we will start our discussion on the D12 chart or the D60 chart, how can you correlate the aspect of karma or some sort of past life psychic karmic combination in this lifetime. Now friends, I have already explained this thing. When we talk about Rahu, Ketu, or we talk about Kal Sarp Yoga or Gandanta birth, trust me, they are very psychic karmic alignment which can happen or manifest results in either ways, as a blessing, as a curse, as a obstacle. It all comes down to how your overall chart is resonating and in which direction it is indicating. So this is something friends which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs on this topic. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyawad.